Good morning, friends. Happy Sunday. Don't mind the hair color. I said I was gonna do it before I even whatever. My hair is getting dyed because I have content day and I want my hair to look straight. I'm by the window hoping that this is better lighting because it did get bright all of a sudden, but you can see I'm trying to also not have the sun in my face. But today's episode, we're gonna talk about my childhood. And if you know me, this is gonna be probably emotional. I do have my shake that I haven't finished as a distraction, but I'm just gonna jump right in. So I was born in 1981 in Miami, Florida, to Cuban immigrant parents. They came here like the year before, so I don't know if they knew each other from Cuba or if they met in Miami or if they met on the boat. I don't know that, okay? But my mom was 21 when I was born. My dad was 51 when I was born. Yeah, I know, fucking 30 years. But nevertheless, they also had my brother Randy. May he rest in peace. Not sure if I'm gonna touch on that subject, but he is in heaven watching over me, and that's all that matters. So I was born in 81. Then they had my brother, 83. The relationship didn't work out. Not exactly sure why, because obviously I was only 2 years old. My dad became, I don't know if he was previously, but post separating from my mom, he became an alcoholic, homeless, so much so that he was literally in the streets when he was robbed and hit in the head, and he had a brain hemorrhage, and that's how he passed away. I think I was around 12 when I met him, and this happened within the year. But let's backtrack. My mom was with someone else, had 2 other kids, which are my brothers as well. So she had 4 biological kids that were born, because I believe she did have a few losses. So let's see. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was a drug addict, an alcoholic, prostitute. It was so bad at one point that the bar she worked at would pay her with cocaine instead of money. So, real addict, okay? And I'm just saying that because when I start to go through my life, you'll understand a lot of the things I go through, okay? So she had 4 kids. We jumped around from house to house. We were on welfare, so we had food. It's not like we were starving. We ate, but aside from that, we didn't have a mother or a father figure in the house. I was the oldest, so I did step up a lot. I learned how to cook. I made sure my siblings were bathed. What else? So one of the houses that we lived, me and my brother Randy, we were in school, right? The 2 youngers. So I was born 81, 83, just to give you an idea on the age gap. And my 2 other siblings are born in 88 and 90. So there was a gap in between. So me and my brother were in school, and the 2 little ones would literally be at home alone all day. And they're children, so they would run outside to play around. There's no one watching them. So one of the neighbors called Department of Children and Services, as they should. I don't judge them. I don't, I respect that they stepped up because these kids had nobody watching them, okay? And they took my siblings away. We moved from this place, obviously, because my mom was scared that they were gonna take me and my Randy away. But shortly after, they came knocking on the door and took us away as well in the middle of the night, obviously, because they were not stupid. We were in a foster group home for, if I recall correctly, not even a month before the person that I consider my mother, which I used to say she was my godmom, but I don't think she was actually my godmother because I have a picture in my head of when I was baptized, and the lady looked different. But again, I was a child. I don't freaking know, okay? I'm really trying not to cry here. Like, so I'm trying to like, whatever. So her and her husband, well, mostly her husband, said we're taking on Anna's kids. You know, they're not going to go through the system. They're not going to go through that. So we're going to help her. So she had 3 kids of her own. So now there's 7 of us living in this house. I'm still the oldest of 7 now, instead of the oldest of 4. Of course, I already know how to cook, clean, all the stuff. So I'm always helping out. He was also a drug addict and an alcoholic, and there was a lot of domestic violence in the home. Really bad to the fact that one time my mom's knee popped out and I had to help her relocate it because she didn't want to call the ambulance. Okay, it was really bad. Bad that if he cooked and you came in with food, he would throw the pot of food on the fucking walls. Okay, it was that bad domestic violence, like bad. But nonetheless, you know, she was doing the best that she could. She was the only one making money in the house. If I recall correctly, back then her salary was like $13,000 a year. Guys, this woman did miracles, but 7 mouths is hard to feed. I'm not even gonna, like, sometimes it's hard to feed one. So she ended up giving up my siblings back to the system and kept me under the pretense, I'm gonna use that word, that I was the only girl and something could happen to me. Long story short, her and her husband separated. I'm still a kid, guys. I'm not even in high school yet. All of this is going on. I'm still not in high school. They separated. She found a new person. He was a little bit younger than her. An immigrant from another country. I'm not discriminating. My parents are also immigrants, if you heard the beginning of the story. And when he would get drunk, he would manhandle me, grope me, borderline molesting, let's just say. I mean, no penetration, no anything, but he would try to make out with me. He would grab, you know, the girls, the ass, try to, you know, he would try. And use the fact that he was drunk as an excuse. Of course, I never said anything out of fear that my mom would give me away, right? Because, like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Where am I gonna go? Come to find out, he was doing this to her daughter too, except she never said anything until way, way later. One day, this man decides that he's gonna write me a love letter and tell me how, you know, we could be together. My mom doesn't need to know, blah, blah, blah. Basically, that's the gist of the letter. I tear this shit up because I'm mad and I throw it in the garbage. But something inside me said, if something happens to you, this is the only proof that it was him. So I taped the letter back together. And I, obviously because of all this stuff, we had court mandated therapy. So we had family therapy where all the kids, you know, her biological kids and I would sit together and discuss anything that was going on. But I also had my own alone time to communicate with her any issues that I may be having or whatever. So I called Liz and I said, hey, not urgent, but I need to talk to you about something, right? Because at this point, like, I obviously, something inside me keeps telling me that it could be worse. So she calls me right back. She's like, Juana, I have meetings all day. Do you need me to call you today? Or do you want to wait till our meeting? I think our scheduled meeting was like later that week. It's not, I'm not even going to say like the following week. Our scheduled meeting was like later that week. I was like, no, I could wait. I'm fine. There is just something I want to talk to you about. But you know, we're kids, right? And we got to tell our friends what's going on. Like, so I go to school. I have a best friend. I'm telling her, I'm showing her the letter. Of course, I'm in my favorite teacher's class where I was 100% a teacher's pet. That used to say this man was gonna literally walk me down the aisle, okay? This is how much I love and trust this teacher. And he overhears me telling my friend and showing her the letter. He pulls me to the side and says, we need to talk. And I was like, yeah, what's going on, Mr. Jones? What do you need me to do? Like I said, I'm a teacher's pet, right? So I would do all the grades. I would do all the stuff. He's like, I overheard what you said, and God forbid something happens to you, I can lose my job. I can also go to jail. And I was like, I trust you. I trust you blindly. Do whatever you have to do. This is where the story's gonna get juicy, okay? So the teacher goes to the office, brings me. They report, potential molestation going on in the house. They called my siblings into the office. Of course, they all said, no, nothing's happening. My sister at that time was not strong enough to say that something was going on. And so my mom was a school bus driver, like I said before, or I think I said. So we were not allowed to get on the bus. We were not allowed to go home. She had to finish her job, basically, and then come to the office to get us. When she came to the office, of course, her first reaction, because she doesn't know why, it's, what's going on? Are you guys okay? What happened? Da-da-da. So they tell her, Juana has this letter. She's saying this and this is going on. Right away, which broke my heart in a million pieces. She said that I wrote that letter, that was not his handwriting. Mind you, we all gave each other birthday cards, Christmas cards, Mother's Day cards, thank you cards, get well cards. Like, we have everybody's handwriting on deck in this house. She said that I wrote it and that I needed to leave her house immediately. So here we go. Now the story's gonna get juicy. So I'm in Florida. I don't know if they have that here. Shit, my head is itchy. I'm sorry. We had there's Department of Children and Family where you try to get adopted or whatever. They try to place you, and then they have foster care where, like, honestly, it's like you're jumping from house to house. They have group homes where you're also jumping from group home to group home. But as you get to like your teenage years, so at this point, I want to say I'm about 14 to 16 in that range, because I was either just getting into high school or about to start high school. And because my birthday's in October, I'm like a year delayed. So I want to say 15, 16. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I was like 15, 16. So they had a program called Independent Living. And essentially what they do with this program is they teach you how to pay bills, how to find an apartment, how to take transit, because obviously you don't have a car at that point, or you probably can't afford a car because, like, what are you working for? Minimum wage back then, I think it was like $7. So basically that type of program. I actually have a plaque. I graduated from that program and I lived on my own before I even was 18. So I'm in foster care. My first foster group home for independent living, there was this girl that her man used to beat the fuck out of her. And there was another girl that had, like, I don't know how many kids, but she was super pregnant, and she stole from the other girl. The other girl that got beat by her man was a little hood. Let's just call it that, right? She was streets. She thought I stole from her because we were in the same room, and it was actually the pregnant girl. I didn't find this out until after. So my first ever fight, and I said, I gotta get the fuck out of here, okay? Because then comes to find out this girl's pregnant. She called the cops saying that I beat her, and I'm like, are you crazy? I knew you were pregnant. I didn't even put my hands on you, but she's full of bruises because her man beat her ass. So the cops are trying to arrest me. Needless to say, it didn't happen, thank God, because the lady of the house said, no, that's not what happened, blah, blah, blah. But I already had my first job. I already, like, started. All this is going on, by the way, and I'm being almost molested and all of this. I'm still a virgin, 15 years old, okay? No sex of any kind. I find my first boyfriend, and I needed to get out of this house. So I lost my virginity. I was like 17 at this point. And so I ended up actually moving in to his parents' house, not his house, which is so weird. But so now I have friends, and now I'm hanging out, and now I'm playing with drugs, and now I'm partying and being promiscuous and basically following the same steps as my mother. Except for the prostitution part, because I was given it for free. Let's just, that's just what happened. When I prepped this story for you guys, I was crying, and I'm actually proud of myself that I'm not crying. So here I am living on my own. I don't know where my siblings are. I don't really have anyone. I start, like I said, making friends. The first boyfriend that I lost my virginity to, and I were so different because I was in this party animal life, like, fuck the world, I don't want to know about nobody, like, life is shit. So I met another friend and we became boyfriend and girlfriend, and he was a drug dealer. So now I'm doing drugs all the time, I'm partying all the time. And I go through that for most of my 20s, honestly. And for the record, I will be 43 in October. So I'm talking about like a good amount of years ago, like a lifetime ago. And I'm partying and I'm doing drugs, and I honestly don't know how I never had an overdose. I honestly don't know. But I've done coke, I've smoked weed. Obviously, a lot of people smoke weed. I've done ecstasy, I've done acid, I've smoked crack at one point just because somebody was doing it and I didn't care about life. And of course, drinking is a big issue that I'm still battling. Fast forward a little bit, I start to realize, this is not the life for me. And so I start to be more a mature adult, and I'm gonna cut the story here because this was supposed to be my childhood. So my next live will cover most of my adulthood, including moving to New York, the who, what, where, why of that story, and where I am today, why I am where I am, what I'm struggling with, and what I'm trying to do better. So thank you for joining in. For those of you that joined in, I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. Feel free to drop any comments. I am an open book. I always will be. And I'm just sharing this so you guys can understand that everything is not the glitz and glam. Everything is not the content day pictures. Everything is not the smiles and the giggles. Life has been hard and we roll with the punches. And when you don't have a role model, it's hard to find a role model. So you have to create that persona in your head, and it's fucking hard. But I love you guys. Thank you for watching. And I don't know when I'll do the next live. Maybe during the week, or if not, Sunday again. But truly, truly grateful. And I hope that me opening up shows someone that it gets better. It definitely gets better.